There's two more terms that we need to know today. One is proprietary and the other is open source. And these are two different ways to describe software. They're separate from the earlier descriptions. So this is another way of thinking about software, and you need to know what these words mean. Proprietary means that you've paid for the software. So I'm going to bring this up on the screen. It's software that you pay for, such as Microsoft Office, Adobe Photoshop, all the serif software we use at school, we've paid for it. And you pay for a license or a number of licenses to use the software, and by doing that you're saying you won't change the code that makes up the software, you won't try and play around with it and change it, and you won't share the software beyond your license. So say we've got 10 licenses for school, we'll only install 10 copies. So that's proprietary software. We use that quite a lot at school, as I said, with Office and all the serif software, we've paid for that. Open source software comes from a different idea, where people who were making software early on were thinking, well, this piece of software like Word doesn't do what I want it to do, and I want to change it. So with open source software, it's developed by volunteers, and the source code can normally be changed. Now, we use quite a bit of open source software at school because it's generally free. You don't have to pay for it. I have to be honest, I've never ever tried to change the code that makes up the software. But that's where the idea originally comes from. And a lot of people now use it because it's free. They like the fact it's got that flexibility that you can request changes to be made. You can use forums and message boards to put your ideas out, and someone might be able to put the change in place for you if you can't do it. So it's software that's more flexible, more adaptable, and you don't have a license in the same way, that you can make changes and share that software if you wish. Now, each time you do a download, you have to sort of check anything that you sign up and agree to. But basically that's the sort of difference between proprietary and open source, is that proprietary, you pay for it, and you can't make any changes to it. Open source is generally free, and if you wanted to, it could be changed. Let's have a quick look on my computer. So here's some examples of software I've got on my computer. All this stuff like Excel, Publisher, PowerPoint, that's all proprietary software because I've paid for it. But on here as well, Audacity, that is open source. That was completely free. It's a sound editor that we use quite a lot at school, and I use at home. If I want to do any sound editing work, I can record in here and edit the sound file and play around with it, and that was completely free. I downloaded that. Other examples, OpenOffice is a completely free version of a word processor, a spreadsheet, a PowerPoint type tool, but it's not Microsoft Word, it's by this people Apache OpenOffice. And if I go into one of these, you can see it looks a bit more basic. It's not as pretty as the Microsoft product you pay for. You're not paying for how it looks, but you're paying for the functionality, and you can see pretty much all the same tools up here as you get in Microsoft Word, and it's just completely free. You don't have to pay for it at all. So it's very sort of popular to go down the open source route. Now hopefully you've got an idea now what the two different types of software are. You might be asked in the exam to explain that difference, so what I'd like you to do now is have a look at some questions in your workbooks. Try pages 52 and 53. You can do both of those and you'll cover all the ideas from today, plus a little bit more on page 53 about how businesses need to think about these issues.